Breaking headlines are calling it a H1B visa shocker. The random lottery is being replaced by a wage based system. Some say it's the end of the H1B lottery forever. Others say it's just another way to rig the system for big tech. This afternoon, we'll ask, is this a fair reform or just the end of opportunity for students and early career workers? With us is none other than attorney Chand Parvathaneni, and we are taking our live calls and comments as well. So, welcome, Chand, once again after a big hiatus, I would say. How are you doing today?
After a long time, and a lot of things are changing too quickly on the immigration side. Too many new memos coming out each and every day. This week, I saw three new memos come out talking about the good moral character for citizenship, talking about a lot more things. So I think things are changing very quickly. A lot of new changes are in process. Uh, like the topic we are discussing today, it's a topic that's in process. It is not finalized yet, but the government is taking steps towards making the rule final. So a lot of things are happening, and so hopefully we will have a very good discussion on what's going on the H1B side and how these things could impact the economy, the jobs, the universities, the students, and so on.
Right, Chand, absolutely excited. Yesterday's topic is, as you can see it on the screen, is the H1B lottery now a pay to win system? So, folks out there, what I can say is type lottery or wage in chat, which system feels more fair to you. And we would like to also know if you are excited about this new change that is coming up. So, let us know just by typing lottery or wage. And Chand, I think without further ado, let me ask you my first question that I have today is what does this wage-based system actually mean in practice?
Sure. So this time in the proposal, what the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, is calling it as is a weighted selection process. So they're saying that it's going to be a weighted selection, and what that means is it is not going to be a random lottery. It is going to be weighted on some criteria. So they're talking about weighted selection. But again, in the end, I think they're going to use wage as a criteria to assign this weight. So they're going to use some factors. I mean, again, theoretically, they can use a lot of factors: somebody's education, somebody's experience, somebody's salary, and so on, to give that weight. But again, based on the draft so far, I mean, based on the discussions that are out so far, based on what the administration has done in the past, uh, we see that it is going to be tied down to the wage. And just to give a historical background, in 2021 January, just before the administration left office, they actually finalized the rule. And the rule came out in January 2021, just before President Biden's administration took office, where the final rule stated that no more random lottery selection. It is going to be based on the wage levels, wage level 1, 2, 3, 4, and based on that is how the lottery will be done. But what happened was there were court battles back in 2021, and the courts ruled against that final rule. And due to that, the whole court battles, Biden administration went back and said they will not implement that rule. And that is what happened in 2021. So at one point of time, this rule was a final rule. But the courts did come out and say that there are some problems. And back then they said they did not follow the APA rules, the Administrative Procedure Act rules, and use that as a reason to go back on that rule. And fast forward to 2025, the administration has taken this as a priority. I think most in the industry do understand that a random lottery probably is not the right way. But I mean, again, wage level is probably not the right way either, because there are so many problems with using the wage as the criteria. So in terms of what does it actually mean in practice, it simply means that it will not be a random lottery. Instead, USCIS will prioritize petitions based on the wage level offered to each worker. Theoretically, there are four wage levels: wage level 1, 2, 3, 4. Wage level 4 means it is the highest wage level. And again, somebody who's working in San Francisco versus somebody who's working in Dallas, the salary is going to be different. For the same set of job duties, for the same wage level, the salary is widely different based on where you're working from. So what that means is, just because you're offered a high salary, say 150K versus 100K, does not automatically make you I mean, does not put you in a better off spot. The reason is, it is also the wage level. So they're looking at not the absolute wage, but the wage level. So the general rule is, employers must use the prevailing wage data published by DOL, and whoever is giving a higher wage level for that particular place of employment will be rewarded. So what that means is, no more randomness, but a bias in favor of higher wage levels. Okay, not the absolute wage, but the wage levels, and that is what I think is the goal of this whole uh, process that is in play. And before the final rule is published, a lot of things will have to happen. People have to comment on it. People have to give their opinions. USAS definitely will look at some of the comments, so they will definitely take some of the comments into picture. But we probably are going towards a wage level based system instead of random system.
Correct, Chand. And I think to most it sounds fair, and to many, maybe not. But we're excited to know, friends. I'm really happy that every one of you have joined us here on Immigration Talk Show. I'm your host, Nipasa, and today we are chatting and speaking with none other than Attorney Chand Parvathaneni on this very important topic for today. And I can already see a lot of you have joined, and I'm very, very happy that you have. A big hello to Swapna, saying hello, team. So thank you so much, Swapna, for excitedly waiting, and we are very happy to have you as well. And Rag, hello, Nipa and Attorney Chand. Good to be back after a month. Thank you so much, Rag. It's lovely to see you after a real long time. 1 month only, huh? But it felt so long. And also, Seema, thank you. We are going to take up your question. So, very, very interesting one, actually. So, we are going to take it in a little while. So, stay with us. And Chand, well, I do have more questions. What can I say? Does this replace the lotteries fully, or is it temporary? What do you think it is going to be?
So the current proposal does intend to replace the entire random lottery system forever, and they want to use a weighted selection process, which probably means a wage ranking process. But at this point of time, the implementation is still not finalized, because there are so many steps to cross before it becomes a final rule. So where we are at right now is, there is a proposal. So there was some vetting by the White House. There's a department called OIRA, Office of Information. There is this department, and regulatory affairs. There is this department that has to review the initial draft. So what has happened is, the White House review has happened. They did determine that it is something that might be good to take forwards. They gave their approval. So the White House has given their approval. The White House, OIRA, this body has given the approval. And now what will happen is, they will draft a rule in a format that everybody can understand. And that rule will be published in Federal Registrar. That has not happened yet, but that is something what everybody can expect. And once this draft proposal is published in the Federal Registrar, everybody out there in the public, they will have a chance to go to this and make a public comment. So you can make a comment where you either criticize the rule, or you say it is good, or you give your feedback. And typically the minimum is 30-day period, so they can give more if they want, but a minimum of 30-day period is going to be there for commenting. And once this entire commenting period is done, what will happen is, they will look at the comments, and their initial draft, they will modify the draft, because they do have to incorporate these comments, and they will have to change accordingly. And now what will happen is, eventually they will publish a final rule, and again it gets published in the Federal Registrar. And this final rule will basically define the process. And by law, they're supposed to give a minimum of 30 days. And sometimes they give 60 days, but 30 days is a minimum. And after 30 days, that rule can become finalized. In the previous time, in 2021, they did not follow this process, which was what caused the problem. So now they're following the entire APA process as is, which means this entire Federal Registrar publication will happen. Eventually, that final rule will be published. At that point of time is when this will become final rule. Okay, until then, this is not even a rule. So, but whenever it happens, it will be a permanent rule, not a temporary rule.
Right, and we will be the first ones to let you know. So, folks out there, do not forget to subscribe to our channel. Our handle is at Immigration Talk Show, and happy to have you join us. If you're watching us, let us know if you prefer the lottery system or the wage-based system in comments. And we are streaming live right now on YouTube and also on LinkedIn and on Facebook. So, feel free to join us and comment wherever you're watching. Also, do not forget to share this with your folks and friends who can benefit as well from this conversation and this webinar that we're having today with Attorney Chand Parvathaneni from SPB Law Firm, Dallas, Texas. And also, I just wanted to read out this very important disclaimer. And that is, by watching our videos, you agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including comments and replies from users, is not legal advice. Use of information is at your own risk. Keep that in mind throughout this whole conversation we're having, and please feel free to ask whatever questions you have. We are going to, keep some time apart to cater to your questions as well. We have none other than Attorney Chand to give you some answers to the questions you have. So thank you so much. Jadav, also, thank you for your question. We are going to take it up. A big hello to you and happy to have you here join us. So, Chand, we also have more questions, and I wanted to um, actually, we had these questions from Reddit. Some users have been commenting, like one of them said, I've been rejected 3 years straight. Does wage base finally give me a shot, or am I still cooked? And then there's another user saying, I'm still waiting for approval from March. Does this new rule affect me now or not? And then another user on Reddit said, be real. Is this about fairness or just a way to favor higher salaries? So, Chand, the question is, do you think wage-based system is fairer than the random one? And it'll be good to know. And folks, also, what do you think? Do you think this wage-based is fairer than random? Just say yes or no in the comments. We'd be happy to know. So, Chand.
I think a lot of people do understand. I mean, I think do feel that pure random lottery is probably not fair, because when you say pure random, what's happening is, I mean, a criteria like what kind of industry you're working in. For example, AI tech industry, it is very relevant compared to probably something. I mean, every role is different. But again, when you talk about national interest, there are some occupations which are very critical, and sometimes not only that, sometimes the educational background, sometimes there are so many factors. When you talk about pure randomness, a lot of it is kind of left out in the picture, because sometimes I have questions like, there are people with probably a 3-year degree from India. They don't have a lot of experience, but they have a 3-year degree, not even a relevant degree in the field of computer science. But now, because of randomness, they're getting selected in the lottery. And sometimes USCIS might come back and say they're not qualified. Maybe they're rejecting their case, or maybe that case is not a good case. So, isn't randomness causing an issue? So that's one side of the aspect. And then when you talk about the wage based system, is wage based system fair? Because when you're fresh out of college, maybe you're from MIT, maybe you're from Stanford, but when you're fresh out of college, the bottom line is you don't have experience. And when you don't have experience, what that means is, even though you're from a very, very big school, MIT, or you're brilliant student, because you don't have experience, you're fresh out of college, you cannot get a high wage level job. So and what that means is you're out of the running. So both systems have their own flaws, and I think everybody realized that the pure random system is probably not the right system. But again, going towards a pure wage-based system is probably not the answer. And which is why the current regulations require the administration to follow a process, which means the administration is not going to make a rule overnight. They have to go through this slow process, and the slow process is you publish what you're thinking, publish the draft rule, listen to the comments from public. So that is why you have the commenting period. Incorporate those comments into your final rule, and then publish the final rule. And at least that is the hope. The hope is that at least the administration is not taking a quick decision, because if you see some of the memos that are coming out every day, every week, we're seeing new memos come out. And some of the memos, they're like quick memos. They're not probably well thought of. Some are probably good memos, but some, not every memo is like a good memo. And the beauty of following the APA process, the Administrative Procedure Act, we have regulations in place. So USCIS, Department of Homeland Security, they have to go through this slow process where you go through each and every step in a slow process, allow for commenting, take these comments into picture. So that way, at least the hope is you're not taking a decision overnight, but you're going through a slow process where you take the good in both the systems, because the non-random system versus the random system, take the good of both the systems and come up with a rule that is fair to at least the majority of the folks, fair to the country, fair to the industry, and so on. And that is the hope, because the current system is probably not 100% the best system. At the same time, whatever is being proposed is probably not the best system.
Exactly. It's very much in its initial period. So we will just have to wait and watch to see what works better. And hopefully, it's going to be as fair as possible to everyone in it. So, all the best to everyone, actually, always in this H1B battle, I would say. So, whatever be it, don't give up on your dreams and hopes. And there's always a way out. Okay. And now moving on, I can already see Rag also having more questions. Keep them coming. We are going to address them in a short while. Friends, you're watching us here on Immigration Talk Show. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel and also share this with your friends, your family, and whoever can benefit most from this. So, yes, our handle is at Immigration Talk Show. Subscribe now if you haven't as yet. And Chand, I have another question. So, who really benefits here, you think? Big tech, senior hires, or can entry level grads, still get in?
I definitely think the big techs are going to be losing out. The reason is a lot of big tech companies like Meta, Google, Amazon, all these companies, they do hire people fresh out of college, and the wage data that every company is paying, the LCA data, it's in the public database, because all the LCAs are out there in the public. So anybody, like if you want to go and see how much Google is paying their H1B employees, that data is out there. So when you look at even the big tech companies, if you look at the salaries they're giving, the wage levels, I mean, they don't always give wage level four. They hire a lot of people fresh out of college, people with master's degree, fresh out of college, no experience, but potentially good hires, because they have a very very good solid education. And but in terms of who's going to lose out, I think entry level grads definitely, I think, will be at a disadvantage. The reason is when you're fresh out of college, even big tech companies are paying lower wage levels, wage level 1, wage level 2, more than likely. And when they're going towards a wage based system, what is going to happen is people with a lot of experience, okay, so probably people who are abroad, who are working abroad, not even been in the country, but they have experience. So those people are the ones probably will be at a high wage level. uh, so I think in terms of who's going to lose out, I think entry level grads, people with fresh out of college with a bachelor's degree or with a master's degree, I think are going to lose out, because when you don't have experience, you're probably not at wage level 3 or wage level 4. And that means that highly educated people with no experience are going to lose out. And the big tech companies, what happens is they hire senior employees, they also hire junior employees fresh out of college. So I think even the large tech companies will probably have a lot of issues, which is why I think once the draft is published out there, I think all this will come out. The big tech companies will start putting their comments. I think the small companies will start putting their comments, because you also have a lot of startups. When you have a startup, they want people. They don't really have resources to hire very very senior level employees. So I think startups will lose out. Fresh entry level grads will lose out. I think even the large tech companies who are wanting to hire fresh graduates, they're going to lose out. So I think as a whole, I see people with less experience going to have a lot of problems getting through the lottery, which means these young graduates, they are highly qualified, they are highly successful people academically, because they're just out of college. But now I think US definitely risks losing all these fresh graduates who don't have a lot of experience if they go with this pure wage level based system.
Hi, Chand. Thank you so much for taking that up and for the detailed explanation. And I'm so happy to tell you that we actually have our first caller for today's session, and it's Hari from Chicago. Hi, Hari. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Hari.
Uh, can I go ahead with my question?
Sure, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll just give you a little background. In 2020 October, I submitted my 485. At the time of submission, I just provided only the birth certificate as I don't have the birth certificate registered. In 2022, I got the RFE. At the time, I got only RFE for medical. At the time, they didn't give any RFE on birth certificate. But again, a week back, again, they issued another RFE. This time, the RFE is uh, on birth certificate and medical as well. So I'm trying to understand what are the documents I need to provide as for the birth certificate. I'm thinking of birth certificate and non-availability certificate to get from my panchayat. So anything more other than these two documents for the birth certificate?
Sure. So in your case, since you don't have the birth certificate available, the mandatory document is your Form 10. Form 10, that non-availability of birth certificate. So that Form 10 is mandatory. Along with that, what I always do is always use at least one or two affidavits. And then along with that also, I mean, it's a good idea to provide some secondary evidence like your school certificates, like your 10th class or your no, school certificates that show your date of birth, along with your passport and all these other documents that show your date of birth. But the mandatory document is your non-availability certificate, which is your Form 10, the Form 10 that you get from the local government authority back home. So that document, along with any secondary evidence, normally I'll always use an affidavit because that is very important. Always use your school records because your school records are records from a very long time back showing your birth, and then your passport. Okay, so once you use your non-availability certificate, the Form 10, along with the secondary evidences, that is more than enough. I've never seen anybody have an issue with those.
Yes, and to add on, when I try to get the school record, school, but almost 30-35 years back, they don't have any data at the time we joined the school. We couldn't able to locate any of the school records, but I have the FP, the 10 class certificate is there. So you do suggest to provide that
Yeah, that's it.
certificate.
Yeah, that's what I use. Your 10th certificate from India, it will have your date of birth listed on it. So if you use your 10th certificate, that is more than enough.
Okay. So do you guys one last question, any Aadhaar card or anything like that, or is it not required?
I mean, if you have Aadhaar card, I would definitely put it because a lot of people don't have Aadhaar, and then what they do is they put their passport. But if you have Aadhaar, that's also a very good idea to put your Aadhaar card, showing that there is another national ID that can be used as a secondary evidence, because this is all secondary evidence. And for primary, you're anyway using that Form 10 non-availability of birth certificate.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you, Nick, for taking it.
Thank you so much,
Sure. Thank you.
Hari from Chicago. It was really lovely having you. And of course, Attorney Chand as well for taking it up. Join us again if you have any more questions. So, folks out there, you can also join us just like Hari from Chicago. And all you have to do is dial the number which you can see on the screen above. The number is 425-436-6335, and the access code is 988-888. So, join us and feel free to ask your questions. And especially if they're detailed and you need more explanatory answers, it's better to join us on call. And Karthik, lovely to see you with your question. We are going to take it up in a short while. There are two questions. So, yeah, we are going to address it, but stay with us for now. And Chad, my question to you, my next question is, will this new system, will it discourage US universities from attracting international students?
I think it definitely will, because a major incentive is for international students to come to US is to work once they graduate. And already we have this programs, OPT in place, and then after OPT we have H1B in place. And now if the new rule talks about entry level graduates having a very less chance because of this wage based system, I definitely think many students will rethink their choice, because now there are even other countries. So if they don't have a good process in place where entry level graduates can get some experience, I think US universities will definitely start seeing reduced enrollment from international students. And already, like the news out here, I mean, out there this year, we're already hearing about all the universities having reduced intake. So already, I think the impact is already showing up with a lot of universities already reporting less foreign student attendance this year. And this kind of a rule, I think it will definitely impact the universities because the H1B program, when we talk about the wage levels, it is going to impact students. And when it impacts students with no or less experience, I think it will definitely discourage US universities from attracting a lot of international students.
Well, thank you so much, Chand, for your explanation. And I can see Hari actually commenting. So he's saying, "Thank you very much, Chand and Nipasa, for taking up my call and providing the valuable information." Thank you so much, actually, Hari, for joining us. And feel free to keep joining us if you have more questions. And also, hi, Pavan. Thank you so much for asking a question. I think we should address it. Chant, he's asking, what about master's cap? Does that have any weight in this new wage-based H1 system?
So the rule is not even the draft version of the rule is not published yet because it's just the proposals that are out. But even the draft version is not published, which is the next step that everybody is expecting. So the next step is the what is DHS thinking, what is Department of Homeland Security thinking. That is the draft. So the draft will be published, and the final rule will be a lot different from the draft always. But at least the draft version will at least give an idea on how exactly they intend to implement this rule. So we're still waiting and watching how this rule will show up because yes, we do know that there is a 20,000 masters quota, but I think within the 20,000 masters quota, they'll probably do something around the wage-based system. So we'll have to wait and watch and see what's going to happen because there are at least some master students who work abroad after their bachelors, they get some experience and then they come and do their masters. So now it is going to put those people at an advantage if there is some kind of wage level process within this 20,000 masters quota. So we don't exactly know how DHS intends to do this, which is why I think everybody is waiting for the draft version. And again, whenever the draft version is published, it is just the initial draft, so it is not the final rule yet. But we'll have more information in the future, and I think in the next 2-3 months there is a good chance that rule will be published because I think the government does want to implement it for the March cycle. So whenever in March when we have the lottery, I think they want to implement it. And for them to implement it in March, they definitely at least have to publish the draft this year because if they don't publish the draft this year in 2025, they will not have enough time to implement it for March.
Right. Thank you, Chant, for taking it up. And Pavan, thank you for your question. I hope you've gotten your answer and keep asking your questions, I'd say. Keep commenting. So, friends, we also want to know what are your, views on this. Do you prefer the wage-based system or the lottery system? Do you think this is fairer? And so Pavan is also asking, what's this wage? In fact, we took this question already. It was one of our first questions. So I would say you can watch this whole show again. And wage-based pay or total compensation, which typically includes stock and bonuses. No more questions from me. Thanks for response. Okay, let's answer this for Pavan if you have.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the H1B, they look at the base salary because on the I-129 you have to put the base salary. So anything that is discretionary bonus or other benefits, they are not counted, like the stock and the bonus. Those are all like discriminatory, and usually it is the base salary. So whatever is the base which is promised has to be honored. So the base is what will count. And again, it is not the total compensation, it is the wage level. Because, for example, in Dallas, the wage level, for example, wage level 4 for software developer is around 150K. But in San Francisco area, wage level 1 is 135K for a software developer. So the total compensation depends on which city you are in, because when you change the city, the wage levels become different. So the same compensation, it could be a wage level 2 in one city, it will be a wage level 4 in another city. So everybody who's going through the HMD process, they will have something called an LCA, labor condition application. So the labor condition application will show what is the wage level that somebody is being hired under. So it is not just the total compensation, it is also the wage level that one has to check for, because the wages keep differing from city to city. And again, how the government intends to implement it at the time of lottery, nobody knows, because whenever we are doing the registration process, we don't even get to the LCA stage, at least in the past couple of years in this electronic registration process. People just put the passport information in the lottery process. So this year, I mean, we don't even, because sometimes the work location is like not even finalized yet at the time of the lottery process. And to get the wage level, we have to know what is the exact work location. So a lot of things are up in the air. It is not an easy process to implement, which is why I think USCIS will take some time. DHS will take some time before the rule is even published, even the draft version is published. But from an implementation perspective, it will make it very, very complex. So we will wait and see. But the short answer is it is not the total compensation. It is going to probably be the wage level. And my guess is, I think from what we are hearing, they will probably use some other factors, which is why they're calling it a weighted selection process, not just calling it a wage level selection process. They're calling it a weighted selection process, which means they will give weight to a couple of factors.
Right, Chand, right. Thank you so much for the detailed explanation. And Pavan, I hope you're very happy with the answers you've got. And do not forget to subscribe to, our channel is at Immigration Talk Show. Subscribe now and check us out, not just on YouTube, but also on LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and on Instagram. So, yeah, I think it's now time for a short break. Friends, you're watching Immigration Talk Show. I'm your host, Nipasa. And today we have our guest with us, Attorney Chand Parvathaneni from SPB Law Firm, Dallas, Texas. And we're speaking about, is the H1B lottery now a pay to win system? So, to get to know more, stay with us here on Immigration Talk Show. We'll be right back.
You know why I'm vacationing in Dubai right now? Because I stopped drowning in RFEs, intake calls, and late night filings. I used to hire freelancers who barely knew what a G28 was. Total chaos. Then I found IMI Support, virtual immigration paralegals trained in real case prep, DocketWise, and USCIS workflows. Now my calendar's clean, my clients are happy, and my firm runs while I relax. You can hustle or you can outsource smart. I chose freedom. I chose IMI Support.
Hello and welcome back, everyone, on Immigration Talk Show. I'm your host, Nipasa, and it's lovely to have you all join us. Today, we have none other than our guest, Attorney Chand Parvathaneni, and we're speaking about, is the H1B lottery now a pay to win system? And it's been a superb conversation so far, getting to know so many different ideas, these new ideas taking shape. And lovely to also have you folks join us with your questions. And, we also had a caller, Hari from Chicago. Pavan, we took up your questions. And I would also only say, do not forget to subscribe to our channel. Our handle is at Immigration Talk Show. And feel free to join us, on call as well. You can see the number on the screen. You can dial in. And Attorney Chand here will be very happy to answer to your questions. The number is 425-436-6335, and the access code is 988-888. So, Chand, I have more questions. If you're ready for them, I'm going to throw them right at you.
Sure. Mhm.
So, will this discourage US universities from attracting international students? That's what we took up some time back. And we also had more questions on Reddit, from different users. So one of them was asking, does this mean entry-level grads like me are done while only seniors get picked? And another user was saying, if I'm on an OPT and my company can't pay level 2 or 3 wages, am I basically out of the game? And there's another user asking, will consulting firms still game this system with fake high wages? So, do you have any
Yeah.
answers to these?
That's a very good question. Can companies game the system by offering fake salaries? I think it's a very good question because I think companies will try that route, and I think we just have to go back and see what happened in the past. The most recent example was the multiple registration fraud, where USCIS gave a lot of notices out there. There is something called fraud, and fraud is if somebody gets an unfair advantage over somebody by doing something, that is basically fraud. And if somebody tries to game the system by offering a fake salary, for example, they give a fake wage level 4, right after approval they try to do something and change the wage level back, and or transfer the employee back to some other company and game the system. That would be clear case of fraud. USCIS, because now they use so many good computer systems, they use Palantir, they use so many uh, of these systems that can detect fraud. So if they see a pattern where a company might have done this, where they're putting a high wage level just to get through the lottery, right after that they do a transfer or do something else. If they find a pattern, or they detect a pattern, they can come back even down the line, and they can cause major issues, and they can be recommended for criminal prosecution, and so on. So if something like that does happen, I think USCIS has systems in place where they can clearly detect fraud, because on the day of filing they initially said it is wage level 4. Right after the approval they go back and do a transfer or do something else. I think USCIS will definitely recommend criminal prosecution. I think Department of Justice could get involved, and I think USCIS will definitely factor that into their whole process, because I did hear people talk about that. It is so easy, just go through the lottery, get through the lottery, and then kind of do a transfer, uh, because they will have all the historical data whenever something like that happens. So I think people probably would try that, but I think it is very easy for USCIS to detect fraud and go with criminal prosecution.
Yes, and I've seen a lot of those stories. We have all seen a lot of those fraudulent activities coming into surface, and there's always bad punishment for each of them, and bad fines, huge fines, right, Chan? So I always say, I think stay away from fraudulent activities no matter what. And
Yes.
yeah, Chan, so there are more questions, and I would, need you to answer to this. How does the wage system impact those already in the pipeline?
So when you say like already in the pipeline, if somebody is already on H1B and I think they're going through a transfer process or going through something else, normally what happens is at every stage, it is the requirement of the job that determines the wage level. So those people will not be impacted. It's only getting into the lottery where I think wage levels will make a difference based on the current process. So anybody that is in the pipeline to go through the H1B registration process, who are currently not on H1B but trying to get a selection in the H1B next year. So those people, I think, will be impacted. But again, sometimes it could be a positive impact, sometimes it could be a negative impact based on their individual situation. So I think all of us, I think, will probably, at least what we all know is things would be different in the coming season, when we have this season in March, because March is when they have to make these selections. So in March, I think things will be a little bit different. So whether it is a positive impact or a negative impact, it depends on the individual's situation and how the final rule is drafted. So I think it's up in the air. So we'll have to give it a couple more months to see what is going to happen this next H1B cap season.
Absolutely, yes. And also the fiscal year is coming up. I think we are expecting a lot more changes to happen and to see at least how it's going to take shape. So I think another month and 10 days or so, right? October is the
Yes.
fiscal year. So what can we expect,
Yeah.
you think, John?
So when the new fiscal year starts, I think a couple of things. Anybody that has got an approval, especially with change of status approval, what it means is you got to start working on H1B status from October 1st, because October 1st is the start day of the fiscal year. So whoever has got an H1B approval with October 1st start date, they have to make sure they're complying with all the H1B regulations. Nowadays, every time you file for a benefit, maybe a H1B extension, maybe a H1B transfer, or maybe something else, they're going back and checking your previous status. They're going and making sure that you maintain your prior status. So it is very important that anybody who's fresh H1B, make sure you're maintaining the terms of your LCA. Anybody on H1B, they should have a copy of their LCA. No company can say, I will not give you the LCA. It is a mandatory document that the company has to provide to every employee. And DOL will take it very seriously if a company does not provide LCA. So LCA is a document that everybody should have. So everybody should open the LCA, know what the work location is, what the salary is, what their job title is, etc. And if there's any problem, just talk to your employer. But make sure you comply with the LCA. Employer has to comply with the LCA. Employee has to comply with the LCA. And another factor is if you have dependents, every time you are changing status to H1B or doing those things, make sure your dependent also changes their status. Okay, so anybody that has a dependent, make sure you're also complying, because dependents also have to make appropriate filings. So if somebody is on F2, they have to convert to H4. So they have to do those filings appropriately. So that is another important thing. And we also see a lot of folks who are on L1 or L2 or H4 convert to H1B. So those people also have to they have certain things that they have to follow. So make sure those are done appropriately. And then people who are waiting for green cards. October 1st always means that new fiscal year starts, which means the new immigrant visa numbers, they start getting allocated from October 1st. So usually we see at least a little bit jump in dates once the October bulletin hits. So anybody who's in the green card process, they're probably waiting for the October bulletin, because October bulletin is where the entire 150,000 employment-based visa numbers, they start getting issued from October 1st. So in terms of compliance, again, I think you see all those USCIS memos come out. They're talking about anti-Semitism, anti-Americanism, and all these things that people should not do. Anybody who's in the country, who's on a visa, they're a guest of this country, and I think people should always realize that part, which means respect the culture, traditions of the country you are in as a guest, and make sure you don't do anything on the social media that is contrary to the traditions of the country, or anything that is against the political views of the country. So it is very important. And again, most of the folks are very cautious, they're respectful, but again, be very cautious when you are on social media. uh, Things sometimes might be construed the wrong way. So what that always means is always pay attention to what you're doing on the social media. It is highly important. Every time you go for a visa stamping, or anytime you enter back into the country, social media is being checked very, very thoroughly. Nowadays, they have these systems like Palantir, these companies that are assisting the government in doing all this data analysis. So be very, very careful about it. Also, your tax returns, because everybody who's in the country working, whether you're on OPT or any other status, tax filings is very important. And what that means is always be careful of what you're filing in the taxes. Make sure it is thorough. Make sure you don't have any issues with IRS, because they're talking about good moral character. The memo that came out last week was talking about good moral character for US citizenship. But the good moral character also is applicable to non-immigrants, because every time you file for a benefit, either an extension, a transfer, or some other benefit, the good moral character requirement is out there. We are seeing so many RFS where people got arrested for either for DUI, driving without a license, reckless driving, shoplifting, all these things. I've never seen such kind of RFEs in the past. Right now, I'm dealing with numerous RFEs for biometrics, where USCIS is coming out and saying you got arrested for this reason, and sometimes the reason could be something like reckless driving, driving 20 over the speed limit, but still it's a violation. It's a violation. Okay, so because in some states, reckless driving is not just a traffic ticket; it is more than a traffic violation in some states. So just be cautious. Always pay attention to the rules and regulations. You have to ensure federal laws are not violated. Federal is the main government, the federal government. Then you have state laws. State laws are whichever state you're living in. For some states, you have specific rules, so you have to maintain the state rules. Then you also have city rules, municipal ordinances, and so on. So the goal is you have to ensure the local rules are honored, the state rules are honored, the federal rules are honored. So don't take any chances. Always be on the conservative side, where you're not taking any chances. If you're in doubt, uh, take the approach of the conservative side, and don't even like get into any trouble. Okay, so again, you can't take any chances. There is scrutiny, and not only that, not only scrutiny. Nowadays, you have computer systems, because when we talk about AI, the government is also using AI to predict things, to analyze data. So they are analyzing data very, very quickly. So what that means is be extra cautious, be uh, conscious of all the rules and regulations, and don't take any chances.
Absolutely, yes. Very important, friends. It's best to know the rules because I can say change is only constant. every time things are changing, and maybe to navigate all of these complexities in immigration, it's best to consult with an immigration attorney, and they will guide you best. And just like Chand has said, stay on the neutral side, be conservative, and all the best, abide by each and every rule. So, Chand, there are so many more questions, and also, folks have asked their questions. But before I take up questions from our audience, I just wanted to ask one question, and that is, if someone gets approved but loses their job before October 1st, what happens then?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, every year we have these cases where the case gets selected in the lottery in April, May, June timeframe. Their H1B gets filed, and then they lose their job because I recently had a case, I think from Microsoft, where somebody lost their job before October 1st. We had a couple of cases from Amazon where people lost their job, and when you lose your job before October 1st, and when that company goes and reports it to USCIS and withdraws and uh, submits a withdrawal for your H1B petition, what happens is you lose your cap exemption. So what that means is you cannot transfer your H1B. So if at all before October 1st starts, you lose your job and the company withdraws your H1B petition, you will not be cap exempt. You'll have to go through the lottery one more time. It's unfortunate, but that is how the rule is. If you are on H1B status even for one single day, so the case got approved on October 1st, you work for the company. October 2nd, the company terminates you, then you won't have a problem because then you have your 60-day grace period. You'll be able to transfer. But if you lose your job before October 1st, and on top of it, the company goes and reports to USCIS and asks for a withdrawal, you will lose your cap exemption, and you would have to go through the lottery one more time. So if you are in a situation where you lose your job before October 1st, the first thing, if you're on F1 status, what you have to do is you also have to work with your school DSO, because if your change of status got approved, normally what happens is your service record might get terminated. So you definitely have to work with your school DSO, so that way you can ensure that you're maintaining your F1 status and plan accordingly. Okay, so I just hope that people are not in that unfortunate situation. But if you are in that situation where your H1B approval is from October 1st, but you lose your job before October 1st, definitely talk to the attorney that either filed your H1B or the employer, and make sure you uh, know your rights and also the steps that you have to take to ensure that you're maintaining status.
All right. Thank you so much, Chance, for taking that up. And now I think without further ado, I know I've made all of you wait so long. I'm going to take up your questions. So let's take this first one from Seema Patel. Thank you so much, first of all, for joining us. Seema is asking, if the lottery is gone, what does that mean for someone like me who's working at a mid-sized company, not a big tech firm? Will I still have a fair shot?
Sure. And I think a lot will depend on the wage level in your place of employment. That being said, I think there are a lot of problems with using pure wage levels, pure salary based system, which is why I think when the final rule is published, I don't think it will be uh, that unfair. I mean, we don't know yet, but I think all the concerns that people have, I think, will be a part of the commenting period. Whenever the commenting period starts, we're going to encourage people to put comments out there, and I think we'll also tell people how to kind of go and put your comment out there, so USCIS can refer to your comments. The good thing is, whenever the commenting period starts and people start putting comments, USCIS will definitely review each and every comment. So, and that is one thing, because whenever we review the draft once it is published, at least we will come out with our opinion on what is unfair, what is fair. We will encourage people to put their comments out there. Companies should be putting out their comments out there, which is why I think when the final rule gets published eventually, I don't think it will be as unfair as what we are kind of currently seeing. So things will definitely change, which is why I think everybody who's involved and impacted in this process should go and comment whenever the review period starts, and comment so the government can see what exactly is unfair and make the decision.
Thank you. Thank you, Chance, for taking that up. And Seema, thank you for your question. Now let's move on to Jadav asking, will this shift favor large corporations over startups and small businesses? How transparent and fair is the new selection mechanism?
Sure. I mean, again, I think even large corporations might have a problem, because even large corporations do hire fresh graduates, fresh out of college, with no experience. That being said, I think definitely large corporations have a lot more money on hand, so they have more resources. So if they really need to kind of play the numbers game, they're in a better off position because they do have the money. And definitely, I think small businesses would be at a disadvantage. And in terms of how transparent and fair this new selection mechanism is going to be, we don't know yet because how the government intends to implement this rule, we don't know. But I think which is why all of us are waiting for this commenting period. So we want to read the rule, we want to see what could be unfair, and then comment upon it. Okay, but again, definitely, I think large corporations will be in a better off spot because they do have the resources, and small startups, because startups are very critical. When you talk about companies like Amazon, companies like Facebook, Google, they all started as a startup. So when they started up, they did not have any resources. Nobody anticipated them to be $1 billion behemoths, but now they are $1 billion company. So startups are very crucial. So we will see how things are going to be. But again, in terms of resources, definitely startups or small businesses will definitely not have those resources.
Right, Chand. Thank you for taking this up. And Jadav, thank you for participating with your question. I hope you've subscribed to our channel. Our handle is at Immigration Talk Show. Folks out there, don't forget to subscribe and also check us out on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and X, and also on Instagram. So, next question is from Rag Chand. He's asking, how will this affect the self-sponsored entrepreneur H1B?
Yes. So again, self-sponsored entrepreneur. So in the new rules that came out last January, I mean, somebody can start a company, sponsor their own H1B. The only drawback is you only get it for 18 months instead of 3 years. That's still being said. I mean, the process is you still have to file an LCA, even though you're a self-sponsored H1B, and the LCA still has to meet the labor test and everything. And what that means is, in terms of whether it is self-sponsored or startup H1B or a big corporation H1B, I think the rule will applicable in a similar fashion. So if you're self-sponsoring for your H1B, you still have to meet the LCA requirement. So the LCA wage requirement, which means that you're working in a particular city, you have to look at the wages and pay accordingly, and your pay has to be accordingly. Because the bottom line is the H1B program is intended to ensure that you're not impacting the local American worker. So the pay should never be at a point where you're causing the labor market to be at a disadvantage, which is the whole reason why we have this LCA process, labor condition application, this prevailing wage, and all these rules in place. So in terms of the impact, it is exactly going to be the same as the normal H1Bs.
All right. Thank you, Chance, for taking that up. And Rag, thank you for your question. And now we have Karthik. Karthik is asking, is the US risking its tech dominance by alienating the very minds that built it? And could this be the beginning of a global talent realignment away from Silicon Valley?
I mean, again, the rules, they've not finalized any rules yet. But again, if they kind of make some absurd rules without putting much effort into the process, I mean, that is a definite possibility, not even like a hypothesis or anything. I think it is definitely going to happen if rules get changed without proper thought, which is why we have this protections in place. We have this APA process where they have to do it slow. They have to publish the draft, use the commenting period, and do a slow process, which is the whole purpose of all these acts, this APA and everything, because we don't want to take a quick decision. Because if they take a quick decision, we definitely risk the tech dominance. I mean, obviously, right now, US is the number one in tech industry. I mean, we are all of us are hoping that that is what continues, and I think they will not take a hasty decision. If you look at what is happening in the H1B world in the last 7-8 months since Trump administration started, yes, we are seeing issues with F1 OPTs, student admissions, and so on. We have not really seen anything drastic on the H1B side. Yes, there is rhetoric out there where occasionally we see some politicians come and talk bad about H1B. But if you look at the administration, I think they're still respecting H1B. They're still not denying cases on a large scale or anything, because I think the administration does understand the importance of H1B. President Trump actually gave good statements about H1B. Not only that, President Trump's wife, Melanie Trump, she was on H1B in the past. Elon Musk was on H1B in the past. So the administration does understand the value of H1B program, and the administration has not talked anything bad about H1B. I think they're talking about reform, but not anything bad about H1B, because they do understand that US risks tech dominance if they do things in a drastic way or impact the H1B program, because H1B program is intended to supplement the US labor force and make it more stronger. It is not meant to replace US workers or anything. So I think if the rules, if any bad rules come out, yes, there is that risk, which is why I do think that the administration will be very, very cautious. They will not take any drastic steps without putting much thought into the process.
I think yes. Thank you so much for taking that up and for giving us this perspective, Chand. And Karthik, thanks to you too for this question. Now we have Nirav. Nirav is asking, is this shift really good for immigrants overall? Or is it just going to make the process harder for people who don't already have high salaries or Ivy League degrees?
I mean, again, I think one thing that I think everybody has realized is the random lottery selection probably is not the best approach, because we see people, they're waiting for like 3 years, 4 years, people who have good degrees from US universities. Because to me, any US education is a very good education, because you're getting a very, very high quality education in US. So when these people are like spending 2 years, 3 years, 4 years in the lottery, some people are doing second masters and all these things, because the current process is also not a fair process. There is a reason why people, the administration has to go back and check whether the current random lottery is working or not. That being said, the proposals that are coming out from the administration, talking about pure wage level process and so on, are definitely not fair. Which is why I think there is a problem, but we don't know how they're going to fix it. But again, if they fix it with a pure wage level process, that is going to probably make the system even worse. So we want to wait and watch and see what this weighted process is going to be, what kind of factors they're going to be using, because we do know there is a problem. But again, the solution they're kind of proposing at this initial stage is probably not the best solution. Definitely something to wait and watch what's going to happen, because I definitely don't think pure random lottery selection is very fair, because I see these folks who are waiting for 3 years, 4 years in the lottery. They're highly qualified, but because the random lottery selection is also not a fair system, people are missing out. And somebody who is out of the country probably, because I do see cases where somebody has a 3 year degree, probably not even a very good degree, they're abroad. Uh, but because it is random lottery selection, they're getting selected, and that visa number is getting waste. Sometimes probably not the right use. So there is existing problem with the current random selection, and also a lot of problems with the proposal that the government is making for the future. So we will have to see the middle ground and see what is the solution, and how the current administration will frame out the final rule. The final rule is not out yet, so a lot will change before the final rule comes out.
Yes, absolutely. I think so also. So thank you so much, Chant. And I had many more questions. I just need to know how much time can you spare for,
Sure, sure.
maybe
Yeah,
another.
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. We'll quickly wrap
Okay.
it up in the next 5 minutes.
Okay. So, Chant, before we go, does wage-based make transfers harder or easier? And should someone file a new H1B instead of transfer under the system? What do you say?
I think I think if you have a wage-based system, I think the transfers also, I think, are going to be scrutinized in a different fashion, because if somebody initially got into the lottery with a particular wage level, and tomorrow, for example, they lose their job, and they found another job which is like a downgrade of their initial job, and now they're getting paid less. I think I mean, the transfers are going to be scrutinized in a different light, because sometimes they might have a genuine reason. They really lost their job, they got another job in another company, but that's a junior level role. Because there is nothing that says that you cannot downgrade yourself and take a lower paying job, because the rule, I mean,
Mhm.
nowhere in the labor laws or anything, there is no restriction that prevents people from taking a downgrade of their current position. So, but how USCIS will view it, we have to wait and watch, because people sometimes get a very good job, but they get fired, they get terminated, and now they only have 60 days to find a new job. And sometimes under pressure, they take a demotion, or they take a downgrade of their current existing position and go for something that pays less. So this is all a real practical possibility. So, but how USCIS will see this, we have to wait and watch.
Yes, actually, yes. We do have to wait and watch, friends. And do not forget to subscribe to our channel at Immigration Talk Show because we will bring you the latest updates first. And so, Chand, if the lottery is gone, how do people even find real sponsors now? And what about non-profit exemption? Are they at risk too?
So luckily, when you talk about the exempt companies like non-profit universities which are hiring H1B, the good thing is they don't have to go through the lottery. So if positions are available at these exempt employers like research institutions, academic institutions, they will not be impacted with this H1B process. However, I think there will be pressure when the salaries for the for-profit companies are very high. I think there'll be pressure on even the cap exempt institutions like these academic institutions who are sponsoring the cap exempt H1Bs. I think they will see pressure, but at least in terms of the regulations, it is not going to impact those institutes, because those institutes probably, they don't have to go through the hassle of getting through the lottery system, because they don't have to go through the lottery. They definitely will not be going through this registration process.
Right, right. And so much more to ask, but Chand, before we go, if you could actually tell us, could legal pushback force USCIS to rethink, the new wage-based H-1B system, or will the agency double down regardless?
I think the agency is going to be very, very careful. The reason is in 2021, the wage level rule came out. It became a final rule. We had court battles, and because of the court decision, the government had to backtrack. And what that means is the government will not be adamant. I mean, they will be very, very logical, and they will follow the rules, because which is what they're currently doing. So when we heard about it has passed the White House review, what that means is they're going through the process. So uh, I think if the rule is not fair, definitely there are going to be lawsuits. I mean, that is guaranteed. There were lawsuits in the past. The courts came into the picture, and lawsuits are definitely possible, even for the current changes. Which is why it puts more burden on USCIS, Department of Homeland Security, to ensure that they're following all the rules, that nobody complains that things are unfair. Because if somebody complains things are unfair, they're going to approach the courts. Because of that risk, I think the governments will be careful. And again, if people feel it is not unfair, people feel it is not fair, the courts are going to be an option, which means that there is always a possibility of court stepping in and putting a block if things are not right. Which is why we have this Administrative Procedure Act, APA. And if there is a violation of APA, I definitely expect lawsuits, and I definitely expect courts to step in, which is what is going to make this implementation very complex, which is why nothing is finalized yet. There are a lot of things that are required. And if things are not fair, courts are going to be helping out to whichever party thinks that they are impacted by this rule.
Well, Chan, thank you so much. But, I don't want to leave this Facebook user disappointed. We just have one last question. So I hope you don't mind. And the question is,
Sure, sure.
I am under STEM OPT and have secured and approved, so sorry, excuse me, and approved I-140. My H-1B petition was selected this year and filed in June. It is currently pending. I submitted my I-539 and I-765 applications for H4 change of status and EAD, respectively, via mail, and USCIS received them on August 8th. However, the receipt notice bearing the prefix WAC only confirms receipt of the I-765, with no mention of the I-539. Is this a normal procedure? Am I supposed to receive a single receipt notice for both applications?
No, he needs to get two separate receipts with two separate filing fee. So I-539 will be a separate receipt with a separate receipt number. 765 will be a separate receipt with a separate receipt number. My guess is probably USPS missed it. So the best thing is make sure your checks are deducted, because you'll have two filing fees. Make sure your checks are deducted. And if you're seeing both the filing fee deducted, call USCIS and let them know that you didn't receive your I-539 receipt. Okay, because based on the screenshot, I'm seeing the 765 receipt number. The I-539 definitely should have another receipt number. So make sure you contact USCIS to get that receipt number.
Thank you so much, Chand, for patiently taking up each of our questions and answering them. with so much detail. Really, it's always lovely having you. And I'm so glad that, our live shows are back. Happy to see you. Really very happy that we could do this today, Chan. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you so much, Nipasa. And thank you all.
Thank you. I hope to see you soon again. And friends out there, do check out Attorney Chand Parvathaneni from SPB Law Firm. And you can visit this link, which you can see on the screen. And yes, if you still have any more questions with regard to today's topic of discussion, is the H1B lottery now a pay-to-win system? You can keep asking your questions even after the stream has ended. We would try to come up with the answers for you, and we have a team for that, so we'll be really happy to come up with the best of answers. And do not forget to subscribe to our channel. Our handle is at Immigration Talk Show. Check us out not just on YouTube, but also on LinkedIn, Facebook, X, on Instagram as well. And absolutely, tonight we asked, is the H1B lottery truly over? The truth, it's not dead yet, but wage-based is here, and it's shaking everything, I can say. Winners, losers, uncertainty everywhere. So thank you so much once again, Attorney Chand Parvathaneni, and thank you to all our callers and viewers out there who asked your questions on chat. A special thank you to Hari from Chicago for joining us on call. And yeah, it's lovely. I hope to see you again on our next show. But next week, definitely more live immigration question and answers, sessions. So stay with us, and that you can do by subscribing and drop your questions in the comments right now. Let us know if you are actually afraid. Tell me about your biggest fear as well, whether it's the lottery gone, the layoffs, or no sponsors. Let us know in the comments. And thank you once again, each one of you, for joining us here on Immigration Talk Show. I'm Nipasa, signing off for now. Have a great day ahead.